What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of kevmacvideos True Stories. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit an old story, episode 46, the time that I met the notorious Honey Bear. Once again, downtown Los Angeles, LA County Men's Central Jail. So, one of the homies had ran across this YouTube channel that had some old news footage. He shot me the link to the page. I went and checked the page out, and my guy, Honey Bear from Venice Showline, is on there. So I reached out to dude twice, 2 days in a row, and try to get permission to use his video or to point me in a direction to where I could get the original video. But he never responded. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to piece together the story that I told with some of the news footage, and you can see how on point I was or was not. I will say this much. In my mind, my recollection, Honey Bear has some long ass braids, some murder braids. I don't know if this is a new thought, an old thought, a true thought, or just something in my mind because of his aura and his presentation, or how mesmerized I was with meeting this individual, unlike any other guy I've ever met that gangbanged. Now when I go check the story and piece this all together, I'll find out what is and what isn't. But from what I remember, I left out the Pelican Bay part. I'm not sure, but I think I may have left the helicopter and these guys that's coming to court with all this security and Tupac and Snoop Dogg and, me and my crimees and these guys, Mexican Mafia, Aryan Brotherhood, and BGF, these Crips, these OG Crip dudes, we're all going to the criminal courts building at the same time. If I did not, then I'll just run another story about that. That was an experience in itself and has its own story to it. So they taking me back to the gang marshal. They escort me down the 3000 floor, and I see this guy, and I see a bunch of deputies. It's like 5 deputies escorting this one guy. And he's moving real slow, like he has a medical condition or just an old guy or something, right? He's moving real slow. Then I notice they have his feet shackled and they have his arms shackled like they got mine to the side. So we get closer and we get closer, but I had never seen 5 deputies escorting one guy. So I knew this guy was somebody. But the closer we get, I notice he got a red wristband on his wrist. The red wristband represents an inmate who is confirmed to be violent and very dangerous.
Sheriff's Deputy Elliott would only talk in general terms about high-risk inmates.
Even inside the system, they're as ruthless and dangerous as anybody would be on the outside of the system. It's kind of a misconception that because they're in custody, that they're not capable of committing violence.
So I say to myself, dude must have killed about 7 people. He got to have about 7 bodies under him, no less than 3 bodies under him.
But in fact, he is a convicted multiple murderer. Here in Inglewood back in 1987, 2 reputed drug dealers strangled. A 3rd stabbed to death in an apartment in the Palms area. A Crip gang member with the nickname Honey Bear.
But in my mind, this old dude got to be a BGF, got to have about 7 bodies on him. So as we get closer to him, the deputies stop and they talk. The 2 deputies with me are talking to the 5 deputies in the hallway. Look like some high power ass shit going on right here. This ain't no normal shit in the county jail. Mind you, we on a high level floor at the time. So we stop and we're gonna go up on the roof. They're taking this dude up on the roof. But dude looks so solid, he looks so hard and so determined in his skin that, to me, you don't ask this dude where he's from, right? He way older than me, right? And high powered. And so I get it, dude, and I say, what's up? And he says, what's up, youngster? Cool little response, right? No animosity, no offensive gestures or nothing like that. So I say, what they call you. You know, I gotta hit him with the what they call you because I just can't see myself saying where you from. I definitely ain't sure that he's a Crip or a Blood. I figure he's locked in with some prison organization or committed mass murder, right? Which a lot of black people don't do. But under this circumstance, that's what I'm thinking. So dude says, they call me Honey Bear from Venezuela. I'm like, whoa, this nigga's a Crip. I said to myself, he a Crip? He must be a Crip god, because I ain't never seen nobody walk around with this much security.
Honey Bear sent police into a beehive of activity when he escaped from the Cook County Jail by carving a look-alike handgun out of a bar of soap. Days later, Bruce was recaptured and extradited back to Los Angeles. Eventually, he was convicted of the triple murder. But the judge declared a mistrial in the penalty phase when the jury deadlocked 11-1 to give Bruce a life sentence instead of the death penalty.
So Honey Bear was the main character behind Operation Pelican Bay Drop at LA County Jail. All these high-powered inmates from the Mexican Mafia, the BGF, and other high-powered dudes, high-security type dudes, had got flown in on helicopters.
And despite that lopsided vote for life, the district attorney's office is now retrying the penalty phase of Bruce's murder trial. In court documents, Bruce is described as a high-risk keep-away from all other inmates. Deputies refer to him as the head Crip gangster in county jail. Bruce denies it. But during his 7 years in the lockup, jailers say Bruce has operated a gambling pool, trafficked drugs, been caught with weapons similar to this jailhouse shank, and tried to kill at least 2 other inmates. An attorney close to the case claims Bruce is such a risk to jail staff and other inmates, the DA's office believes the best place for Bruce is the gas chamber. That is why they opted for this death penalty phase retrial. And Bruce, acting as his own attorney called propria persona or pro per, has subpoenaed a list of 22 inmate witnesses to testify in his behalf. It is a collection of murderers, escape artists, and ruthless prison gang members housed in the state's maximum security prisons. County Counsel Jim Owens, who has spent nearly a decade working with pro-per inmates but would not specifically discuss the Bruce case, makes this general observation.
Many of the people that get subpoenaed down to testify in criminal matters have significant baggage in terms of prior crimes that they've committed and have been convicted of, and I would, in my opinion, horrendous credibility problems in front of a jury. So I don't know why people would actually do that.
On Bruce's witness list are men like convicted killer John Stinson, the reputed leader of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang, who has threatened to escape from jail if given a chance, and whose in-custody record includes 2 assaults on deputies and 3 on other inmates. And so has this other Bruce witness, reputed high-ranking Mexican mafia shot caller Daniel Cuate Grajeda, who plotted the assassination of a deputy district attorney. Also, Mexican mafia heavyweight Henry Indio Carlos, classified as an escape risk dangerous to officers, a 2-time killer who once even stabbed Grajeda while in jail. This former Mexican mafia associate tells it this way.
These individuals, they stab you in front of everybody. Everybody. And if anybody gets in the way, they're going to get stabbed too. That's just the way it is.
Also on Bruce's witness list, 8 Crip gang members, 7 of them murderers, some with ties to the notorious Black Guerrilla family prison gang. But Bruce, in a telephone interview from jail, tells us any suggestion that he is abusing his pro-per status is totally BS and propaganda. 9 of Bruce's witnesses came from here at Pelican Bay. the state's top security prison, which houses the worst of the worst criminals. But Bruce tells us he wants the jury to understand there is a different set of rules that he has to live under in the violent prison environment. That is why he called the inmates to testify for him. But Fox News has learned prison gang investigators have other theories. That Bruce, as a favor, has used his pro per subpoena privilege to call down Mexican mafia kingpins for a meeting to discuss recent federal indictments that have crippled their organization. Another theory, Mexican mafia hitmen are down to kill Indio Carlos for his earlier attempt to murder Grajeda. Another possibility, Crip kingpins here to discuss drug business with the Mexican mafia, or to try to unite other Crips behind recent outbreaks of Crip assaults on prison guards. Sources tell Fox News that is why extraordinary security measures were used to helicopter in the Pelican Bay witnesses and keep them in chains and under heavy surveillance everywhere they went. Sources tell us Bruce had no control over what these high-risk inmates would do while here, and they are capable of anything.
But after 13 days here, housed and transported under a security blanket, there were no assaults on deputies or inmates. One law enforcement source tells Fox, mission accomplished. But in reality, we may never know what kind of secret prison gang skullduggery was carried out here, if any at all.
I was going to CCB at the time, Criminal Court Building on Temple Street. And that's where Honey Bear's trial was at. So we show up. Man, there's all kind of horses, all kind of police with shotguns, special police units hiding in bushes. I ain't never seen nothing like that in LA except for the 1992 riots. And all these cops is on horses, man, and the buses. It's only a few people on each bus. And they coming off the buses all shackled up. These are the dudes that's running the prisons. So I asked around, like, man, what's going on? What's going on? Nobody knew what was going on, but eventually it was in the newspaper and the talk had began to really make everything make sense. And I'm like, damn, that's Honey Bear? Yeah, Honey Bear got power like a motherfucker.
So Fox News has learned the 9 Bruce witnesses here at Pelican Bay in the last 2 weeks became the focus of what one insider calls an extraordinary security mission. All were first bused from Pelican Bay to Folsom Penitentiary, and from there to Wasco Prison near Bakersfield. Here at Wasco, the 9 inmates, all seen as escape risks, were loaded onto 2 separate LA County Sheriff's helicopters, 4 in one, 5 in the other. This artist's rendition, drawn from details obtained by Fox News, shows how pads were placed over the eyes of each prisoner, taped and strapped in place, blindfolded so they don't know where they are and can't see to attack. They were waist-chained and handcuffed, legs shackled and chained to the floor. 3 heavily armed, specially trained SWAT officers rode in each chopper. 2 smaller helicopters flew behind each one as chase aircrafts. Arriving at the New Century Jail in South Los Angeles, the inmates were offloaded one at a time under heavy security. Here they were kept in separate cells during their 13-day stay. They were transported to court by themselves in a sheriff's bus. At least 3 security escort cars on the constant lookout for trouble. Inside the criminal courts building, 3 deputies escorted each prisoner to and from court, and as many as 11 deputies were in the courtroom at any given time.
So now Honey Bear's in court representing himself. He's pro per. He's his own lawyer. Most people don't do that. You got this conviction of a triple murderer representing himself. Honey Bear's going pro per. Most of us know not to do that. You're not going pro per because we don't know the laws like they do. But apparently, Honey Bear knew what he was doing, and they accused him of abusing the court system because he got all these high-powered dudes coming down to the county jail, and now they're able to get local visits. They're able to talk amongst each other and straighten out whatever business they may have. And they didn't like that. But Honey Bear had the keys. He had the power to do that. Honey Bear was this light-skinned dude, probably a little bit shorter than me, had a little bit of size on him, you know, good posture. He had these long-ass murder braids. Man, when you see the murder braids back then, you knew a nigga was crazy, right? You just knew he was crazy. And that may not be the case, but that's how he looks. That's the presentation a man gives himself back then in the 90s and in the 80s when you see a dude with them long murder braids.
Police say he and his girlfriend, calling themselves a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, went on a crime spree through 5 states, doing at least a dozen holdups along the way. Eventually caught and convicted of armed robbery in Chicago.
Like, you couldn't tell by his demeanor that this dude was locked up for the rest of his life. You couldn't tell this dude had so much power, but at the same time, it's just so much fucking power just pouring out his soul, and I could feel it. It was touching me, it was hitting me, and it was so recognizable, and it was so thrilling. Like, I really wanted to know more about this dude, right? So the district attorneys actually blamed Honey Bear for facilitating Mexican mafia business by having all these inmates come down to court for him. Now, he got all these murders, double murders, dudes with multiple murders testifying on his behalf as character witnesses. I mean, that's how much power this dude had, and how much just going over the years of being incarcerated, having connections to other prison organizations. Operation Pelican Drop was a high-level, secretive, dangerous operation by CDC, LA County Jail, and the inmates. It was very expensive, cost a lot of money to have the helicopters fly them in, blindfold them, don't let them know where they at, don't really let them know what's going on. And they had to worry about an attempted escape or a bunch of people trying to come to save these dudes, rescue these dudes so they can get out of prison. Because let's be real, most of these dudes will never come out of prison. And at that time, a guy like Rene Boxer Enriquez, he was still in good standing with the inmate. He was still a high-ranking Mexican mafia member at the time. So these dudes are coming down to the county jail, man, and the county jail is stirred up. Whenever these dudes moved, the whole entire county jail was on lockdown. When we showed up to court, man, there was so many guns, so many police on horses. The LAPD tactical units and the sheriff were everywhere. The jury was deadlocked in favor of the death penalty 11-1. This would eventually save Honey Bear from having a cell on death row.
The judge banned all cameras as inmates were chained inside the witness box during their testimony. But despite this massive security ritual, inside Mexican mafia heavyweight Daniel Grajeda's cell, deputies at one point found a 10-inch jail-made knife or shank crafted from a toilet fixture and stuffed under his mattress. Fox News has also learned during this period, sheriff's deputies discovered information confirming Mexican mafia plans to hit a Hollywood actor who supposedly disrespected their organization.
These guys.
Meanwhile, the Vincent Bruce death penalty trial continues, as it cost $12,000 just to bust the Pelican Bay witnesses from prison and back, another $16,000 for their helicopter ride, and an estimated $15,000 in security manpower just for the 3 days the Pelican Bay contingent was in court.
Add in multiple bus rides for other inmates, escorts, jail personnel, and court costs, and estimated expenses for just the 13-day visit easily tops the $100,000 mark, a considerable cost to the taxpayer. So who is Bruce, and what besides his retrial is actually going on here? There are different theories on that, and we'll have that story tomorrow.
So at the time, and over all these years, I didn't know that who these individuals was. Rene Boxer and the Indio and all those guys. I also didn't know Motor Mouse was one of the guys. Motor Mouse from 60s, CCO, was one of the guys that was a part of this group as well. Now you gotta remember, I'm in jail at this time and I ended up going to prison, so I had never seen this before. I read newspaper articles and I spoke to my brother about him, but I had never seen these actual Chris Blatchard tapes. Chris Blatchard is the author of The Black Hand, featuring Renee Boxer talking about the Mexican Mafia. He made a living off of doing gang stories in Los Angeles on Fox News. Chris Blanchard was one of the best. He was one of the best gang journalists that we had in Los Angeles. I want to give a shout out to OG Honey Bear, shout out to the Venice Shorelines, and thank you guys for watching. Be sure to click the like button, leave a comment if you want. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We tell all sorts of stories here. I'm out of here. Salute.